Hey guys, this is Hal from ChurchSpin. Been a long time, but hey, I was over here in Photoshop and I was creating this little graphic and thought I would share how I did this. It's actually for a Facebook event that my church is doing, and on Facebook it says that the Facebook image for the event needs to be 1920 by 1080. So I wanted to show you how you go about doing something like that, especially when something, you know, that seems kind of boring, like a church meeting like this. Yeah, annual church meeting. So first thing I did was what anybody does, and I hopped over onto Google. Actually, in this case, Google was down, so I went to Yahoo and just typed in church annual business meeting and came down to, I went, hey, I kind of like this idea for the church-wide meeting deal. So I just popped that image up and went, okay, I want to do, this is my inspiration. I want to do something similar to that. So that's what I started out with. Now, to get going on this, like we said, the image that the size and ratio that Facebook wants is 1920 by 1080. So your 1080p thing. So if you just go down to film and video in Photoshop and hit your 1080p, make sure that your pixel aspect ratio is squares. Sometimes it gets off on some of these other ones, and so just make sure you're on square. And then 72 DPI, since we're just using it for web, and hit go. Now with everything I do, I like to make sure that it's vector based when I'm in Photoshop. Now that seems kind of counterintuitive, but what's nice about it is, you know, even though I've made this for the web and that, so it isn't that big. If I needed to translate this into a poster, it wouldn't be that difficult to take what's here, because almost everything involved here is vector. Now there is an exception that we'll talk about later, but let's start with that. So what did I do? What was the first thing I did? Well, the first thing I like to do on any image, especially if it's something like, okay, I cannot wrap my mind around what a business meeting, what a cool image would look like. First thing I start doing is looking around inside my my textures that I've used over the years. Now, if you're like, okay, I don't have no idea where to find textures, there's plenty online. Just go free Adobe background textures. Just do a search for that, and you should come up with something. So I went into my AKA papers textures. I really don't know where in the world I got these at this point. I lost the address for them. So you can maybe do a web search for AK_papers_textures and look for that. I liked the number 9. So I just take that and I drag it right into Photoshop and just pull it right into my comp. Maybe. So I pull it right into my comp, and it does that right away. So I can just stretch it. I just stretched it loop to the size I needed and hit OK. And hey, I've got a texture there. It's not just white anymore. Oh, I've got some texture. Good. So that looks kind of like that. And next, we want to start on our start getting our shape for our roof here. Actually, let's start with the words. So I'm just going to type in let's see, annual business. Now I actually started out, our church usually uses Open Sans for everything, so I usually like to just start with our church font that we use, and Open Sans is a free Google font. You can find it on Font Squirrel, all that great stuff. So you can find it pretty easy, and hey, it's free. So I usually start with that, and annual, if I can type. I can't type annual business. Well, I said church, annual church business meeting. Okay. And I ended up going something like this. So And so what I often like to do is take these elements and yeah, give them some interest. And a lot of times what I want to do is kind of line them up. So right now I'm just going to take the leading and kind of compress it down. I go, okay, here's a space. Let's get rid of that space. And let's bump this up so it's about equal. Now, notice over here we've got, it's not quite what I would want. So I'm going to put that space back, and I'm just going to crank it down so I can get it as even as I can on this side over here plus that side. So that's close. Yeah, crank it down a little more, draw it in, draw it in. There we go. Yeah, pump it just one or two more. There we go. There's that one. Business meeting. Oh, so close, so close. I'll draw that one back down. Do a space over here. Actually, we'll take that same space that's over here. Copy. Boom. Oh, that didn't like it. Did I get it? Oh, I did get it. And let's see. Pump that back up. Is it too far over? No, it's close enough. All right, put a little more space in here. Bring it down just a tish. And then up here, we're gonna bring that down to about there. And we'll also increase the leading a little bit from there. So there you go. There is that. Whoa, whoa, oh, there. That's close. Maybe a little bit more down here. Okay, there we go. Now we want to start on a roof. Well, like I said, I like to make things vector based. So the first thing I'm going to do is start. Let's see. Well, let's put this in the middle. Let's make sure we got this in the middle. There we go. So I want to make sure that I go from here to about there with my roof line. And I want to make it about the width of one of the lower letters of the B or the M. Maybe a little bit thicker because I'm going to be doubling up all of this. So we're just going to start with that. Okay, so there's that one. And this is going to be my base. I'm just going to keep duplicating this until we make the shape that we want. But before we do that, I want to rotate this. So if you hit V on your keyboard, that will give you kind of your selection tool over here. I forget what they call this. Let's look. The move tool. So V is the move tool. And then if you just hover right around it, you can do a little rotate. And we're going to rotate, let's say, let's make it about 15 degrees. Yeah, we'll do about 15 degrees. Oh, if you pull out a little bit farther, you can actually have more control to get exactly the number you want. So there's 15. Now, I'm going to have to make it just a little bit longer to incorporate kind of the roof line that I want, because middle's just beyond here. So we can go a little bit farther. There we go. There we go. So, because when you duplicate this, you're going to flip it, and you want those parts to overlap, but you also want it to cover that middle so the top doesn't have a line or anything. So we'll do that. Okay, now to duplicate. To duplicate, you hit Command J on the Mac, Control J on Windows, and boom, over here you'll see, oh, hey, there it is. You have a duplicate. I'm going to type roof right now on both these so that everything after that we copy will say roof as well. I'll say roof 2 over here. And now I want to, this copy that I've made of this side, I want to flip it. So to do that, you want to go to Edit, down to transform, and then down to flip horizontally. Oh, you have a nice X. All right, now we can just move it on over. Move it on up to the top. Now we want to line up the roof line. I'm just going to zoom in, make sure I'm close. And we are really close. Okay, there. Perfect. Right there. Zoom back out. And hey, look at that. We have got our nice roof line. Now, like I said, I want to use this as the base for the cross as well. So let's duplicate that. Command or Control J. And there we go. Now, we said it was at 15 degrees. So guess what? We've got to rotate this copy back 15 degrees. And then you'll know it's straight again. There we go. 15 degrees. Get this out of the way. All right, now you know that's straight. I'm going to hit that. And we can start over again. All right, so what if you wanted to, oh, hey, look at that. 15 degrees. Nice. I didn't know it did that in 15 degree increments. I could have just held down. If you hold down Shift, it will allow you to rotate in 15 degrees. So there you go. You learn something every time. So I'm just lining this right in the middle. So when it lines up, you'll get that little pink line there, at least I do. And then I want to shorten it up and put it, okay, that's not quite in the middle. There we go. And make it short enough. And we'll look at what we got here for our cross. Okay, so it's looking okay. And then once again, from right here, I'm going to hit Command J and then take this copy once again, hitting the Shift, boom, and I can rotate it 90 degrees. Now what we want to do is I want to put it up high enough so it looks like a cross, but I don't, so here's a question. How do you measure how long you want your cross beam? Well, the first thing I do is put it up as high as I need it to go, and then go, okay, what's the length here? And then I know the length that the sides will be, so I'll try to match that up, and then you get a good cross. So just a little tip there on how to do crosses. And if we do that, now I'll zoom out. Hey, looks pretty good. I kind of like this, maybe even a little better than that graphic. Yeah, I don't know. So if this is one you want, hey, we can just call it done, but I can show you also how I did the rest of it. So this is actually probably better than my other one in that it's all vector based. As we go on, I'll show you how I actually had to rasterize the roof and things to get it to do that. Okay, so for now, what are we gonna do? We are going to take our roof line and we're gonna make it all into, we're gonna move on and we're gonna make it all into one, yeah, we're gonna actually convert it to a smart object. And you say, why would you want to do that? Can't you just group it or something? I guess, but what's nice about the smart object is that it uses it all as one object, where sometimes when you're in your groups, if you don't have the right settings on, especially when you're in the move tool, auto select, and you don't, let's say you had auto select on and you had layer, you're not going to grab all of those. Where if it is a smart object like it is now, I'm just going to call this roof now, it's going to treat it is one single object now. And then if you need to edit it, you can just double click and go in and still edit the individual things. So here we are. Great. Here we are. All right, so to get that, before we make the roof into that double lines, let's go ahead and make the font into double lines. So let's change that up. So what I did is I just went, okay, what font do I want to use? Because I really didn't like my church font here, and it's okay if I don't always use my church font. So what I did is I went into my font book, and every year what I do is I redo my computer and I keep all my fonts, but all of the fonts that I use in a year, I put into a folder. I say, hey, I used this last year. And so I know I kind of keep track of the fonts that I use. So right now I keep all of my design assets within my Creative Cloud folder, and right now fonts. So you can see, okay, here's my fonts from 2013. Here's my ones from 2015. And I must have lost 2014. It's gone in the wind somewhere. And then so anything that's in this main folder are, oh, maybe I just have it in old fonts because I did that too. Anything I use this year, I just leave out here, and then once the year is done, then I throw them into a new folder. And when I redo my computer, I go, oh, okay, I reinstall them, so I don't just keep using the same fonts over and over from years past. But here's the ones I've used in 2016, and you know, this is a great one. Debus, it is an older font, and so it's probably the reason I didn't go with it, because I feel like I've used it years upon years upon years. And no, that one's probably not one. Montserrat, ooh, I really like this font. This one's pretty good. I could have gone with that. I didn't see a narrow, I wanted kind of that narrow look that DBoss has. So Nevis, similar to Montserrat. But I got down to Ostrich Sands and went, oh, yes, this looks kind of like a modern version of DBoss, new, and it has kind of what I was looking for. And I came down to Bold and went, I want to give that a shot. I love the double line look, and thought I'd, you know, and I even like the condensed light, and it's kind of slick. So that's what I ended up going with, is the Ostrich Sands, and just popped it down here. Ostrich Sands, bold, boom, there we are. Now you'll notice as soon as I did this, oh, my alignment is off. So there's a couple things we can do. We can get rid of that space, and boom, it moves it right over, and here we are. Now you're like, oh, well, now it doesn't fit my roof, so we can just go ahead and, no, okay, wait, before we do that, let's get rid of this space that's down here. Boom. Huh, oh well, I don't know why it's doing that. That's okay. So we'll just do this and line it up as best we can. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. That's looking pretty good. All right, now to tackle our roof. To do this, first thing I'm gonna do is make a copy so I can keep a copy that's vector. So I'm even gonna just call this one to remind myself that it's vector, 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 vector. All right, so what I need to do on this one now is, before we rasterize it and all that good stuff, I'm just gonna go ahead and play with blending layers to see if we can get a similar look. To do that, the first thing I think that will work is, let's just recolor it. So, and here we can just take the background color, and you can see it just kind of disappears. And what that's actually doing is, it's not quite, because you're losing the texture in here, but it's a good place to start. So you can just do the color overlay, click on the color, and just use the eyedropper to get a color off the background. Now the next thing you want to do is go to your strokes. Oh, hey, I already have the color in there. But if I didn't, you can just do the same thing. Go to the color picker. You can just take it off of here. This is actually one of our church colors, this orange, and then pop it in there. And hey, look, we are pretty close on this. I might bump it up a little for this. I think that'll look a little bit closer if I do that. I don't want quite. Might have to do it by hand. So type in 10. I might even go 11. Let's see, 11. Yeah, let's do that. Now the other thing is, make sure you're on the inside. Maybe you want the center. I don't know. Let's see. Maybe that'll look good. I can't quite get it closer without it blowing up, and then the lines look a little too thick. So I'm gonna go back to inside and then push it back to 11. And that's pretty close. That's pretty close. So that's a good place to start. Now the only thing that I don't like about this is I would love the ends to be open, kind of like the font is on the side, like on the end of the M down here, or the E, top of the U. I want it to be open. So there's a couple ways we can do that. I was rasterizing it and then just kicking out the section there. So we could give that a shot. Let's see if we could. But I would prefer if it stayed as a vector. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to make this another smart layer. So you can have a smart object. So you can have smart objects within smart objects. And the reason I'm doing that is if I just go ahead, what I want to do is create a mask. But if I make a mask here and blow out the ends here, let's say with the lasso tool. So go like this. Oops. Yeah, we'll just that's close enough. Go like this. Come on out. Boom, boom, and let's fill. Okay. Suddenly, it's not doing what I want. It's making that outline go within, and it's just gonna. The bigger I make this mask, the more it's gonna do that. So what do we need to do? What are we gonna do? So let's undo what we just did, do that, get rid of that, and let's just make that another smart object. All right, so we're gonna convert it again. So we now have a smart object within a smart object, but all of those all of the effects that we have on there are now within this smart object. All right, so now we can go ahead, add our mask. What's awesome about masks is that's what they do. They mask things, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, anyway. So to begin with, I want the background to come through. So I'm gonna go ahead and take our wand tool and just go ahead in here. And you'll notice that because we're on the mask layer, that the colors now just are black and white in our palette, and that's all you have. Well, the reason being is they use black and white to mask things. So if I hit Option Delete, nothing's gonna happen. Well, actually, what it's gonna do is gonna fill that mask with black. So here's better idea of what's going on. When I hit Option Delete, it fills it with black. When I hit or Alt Delete on Windows, it fills it with black. If I hit Command Delete on Mac, Control Delete on Windows, it fills it with white. Now I'm in the mask view, but when I go out, what that's going to do is allow the center to allow the background to shine to show through there. So you can see as I pull it down, oh yeah, sure enough, you can see through there now. Okay, now we'll just do the same thing. We'll just use our lasso tool and blow out the sides. So here we go. Boom, boom. All right, did that. Option Delete. There we go. We can see through there now. I'll do it on the other side real quick. Boom, 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 boom. Option Delete. And we are done, my friend. Oh, there's a little bit of that right there. Option Delete. And it's gone. And we've got ourselves a logo, my friends. All right. Well, the next thing that we're going to do is I have created a smart vignette. Now you're wondering what a smart vignette? Well, lucky you, I'm going to show you what a smart vignette is. A smart vignette is basically vector, it's this vector shape. It's pretty much made up of a vector square and then what I did was I went in and I subtracted a vector ellipse from the center. Now what that does for us is it basically means that no matter what size my comp is, I can throw this vector vignette, I can throw that onto any size comp square that I want, and it will basically work and fit. So here it is, boom. Hey, it's the same size comp, bring it in. Now if I had a poster or something, it's not that big of a deal. I can just resize it where I want it and go in and change the blur amounts, and sure enough, it keeps the shape. It doesn't look weird. If I were to take off this, hey, you still have that base mask that you're working with. So that's pretty cool that works. Now the last thing I did was just take my church logo from my branding folder that I've made for our church and popped it in the corner. So here I go, where am I? Branding, there we go, church logo. Our main color is orange. I go to an EPS, I like our horizontal one, just drop it in there. Hey, it's vector 2, so it doesn't matter. And I can just throw it in the corner, make it a little smaller. And there you go. I now have my annual business meeting logo. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. Just save it out. You can save it out. I believe as a JPEG they'll like that. Even as a PNG, I think they like that too. I'm not quite sure, but hope that helps. And now you made a somewhat interesting logo for your event on Facebook that was boring and now it's somewhat interesting. Okay, thanks guys. Have a great day. Enjoy. Bye.